Up YouTube. No one said, wow. Tough crowd today. So we're at a sort of goofy point in the semester. And what point is that? That's the point where the last assignment is out. And once the last assignment is out, we can't teach you anything that we're going to give you an assignment on, because you already have the assignment, right? So I was thinking, well, it's high time we start teaching you some computer science, right? We've done a lot of software development. We've done a lot of Python this term. So we have a sort of classical computer science concept here, binary search. Binary search is a way to solve problems that is very efficient. Usually in computer science, the scientific part, the academic discipline, think a lot about efficiency, right? And so we're going to introduce this concept today. And then on Monday, when we're definitely all going to be here, are any of you going to be here on Monday? Okay, 2 of you are going to be here on Monday. When I bring pizza to class, just kidding. I don't know how to get pizza at 10 a.m. I could bring donuts. Where were we? Right. On Monday, I'm going to teach you recursion, which is something that I think you should know. And I actually used recursion on Adventure, so I want to get that out to you before break. So I'm going to try and teach this content today, teach it again on Monday with recursion, and then try and show you where I think recursion is on Adventure. And then we'll go from there. The last 3 lectures in the final week are, I usually call them enrichment topics. I don't know what other terminology is used. I'm trying to decide what to teach there, but if you have things you would like to learn, you should send me an email. And I have 3 topics I can play around with, and I also have just like reams and reams of course material I can draw from, so a lot of it is not a lot of extra effort. All right, Adventure is ongoing. I think you should be knowing how to navigate between scenes. Does that sound like something you should be able to do by now? I think I would not be stressed yet if you haven't made an API call, but I would kind of like to start seeing those API calls come out. The API call step is there's sort of many levels to it where you have to sort of look at the data structure and then take things out of the data structure and put things in the data structure into a string, and then you have to call a function on the string, and then you have to wait for the function to come back, and then you have to take it. So there's many steps there. So it's reasonable to me that would take some time, but I would like you to be at least working through the data structure well enough you can navigate between scenes. Advising is ongoing. I don't think I am all of your advisors, but depending on the level of panic you reach, I can become your advisor in a very short period of time if necessary. So if some disaster unfolds in the next 24 to 48 hours and you need a computer science advisor for any reason, including if you only need one for 24 to 48 hours, send me an email. If I'm not currently your advisor and you need me to become your advisor to do something, copy the registrar and say you're declaring either a CS or data science major. It does not matter which one. You just need me to be your advisor. Things I can help with are approving you to register for classes. I can tell you which classes I think you should take if you care. And in general, I will tell you classes that cause you to graduate quickly and not necessarily classes that will cause you to explore your interests, because those are your interests and I don't know what they are. So you're on your own if you want to explore your interests. Though if you have some interests, it is possible I know something about them. And so a student recently asked me, like, why are there no cinema studies classes? And I said, you fool, there are. I didn't say you fool. You're not supposed to say that to your students. I said, there's French 275 African cinema, and then there's a Russian cinema class that covers Tarkovsky, which is one of the greatest directors of all time, right? And this student, who is not a fool, did not know about these classes, but I did because I'm a brain genius. So those types of questions you're welcome to ask me as well. I think maybe many of you were able to start registering for classes this morning. Does that sound like a thing that happened yesterday? That explains a lot of emails I got yesterday. Okay. I was like, you can't register yet. So today is not relevant to Adventure at all. Hope you weren't hoping for help on that. And the reason for that is why? Because Adventure is so easy you don't need help on it, right? Just put, like, on your mirror every morning, right? Oh, it's so easy, don't even worry about it. That's what I have on there. It is relevant for writing good code. It's a little bit relevant to Wordle, and it was also relevant to the version of Adventure we did last year, which doesn't help at all. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be searching, not for meaning in our lives, which we've already found, it's to study undergraduate computer science, but we're going to be searching for words in a dictionary, right? And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, the dictionary data structure? No, absolutely not. Today when I refer to the dictionary, I'm going to be referring to a list of words that is not, in fact, a dictionary data structure, right? Which is why I have always called the data structure the hash map. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to read in some text. Do you all know how to read text? This is just like you. They're just like us for real. The computers, they're just like us, right? We're going to see if there's a word that is in a list of words, okay? This is a good way to tell if a word is a real word or a made-up word. I'm known to make up words on occasion. I haven't made up any recently, though, so I've been pretty mellow on that front. I've mostly been doing compound words recently. I've added easy style to crazy style is something that I say several times a day. I've been thinking about, and this one might be a bit too much, so you can just let me know by the way you react when I say it. I've been thinking about giga style, which is just like when there's a lot, but not of anything in particular. So, I don't know, maybe we can get that one to catch on. I have like a pretty good number of followers collectively across my social media platforms, so I think I can start something here. Okay, hella, no longer in use. I think that's no longer an officially supported word, but so maybe you've got hella words, right? Hella words in English. So in general, I don't know how much you all know or think or care about natural languages. I think like a second grader, maybe even younger than that, people, like humans that can talk, but like talk like little kids, I think are expected to have a vocabulary of around 1,000 words, okay? And then I think like at some point people start seeming normal, probably when they're like in middle school, and I think that's around 10,000 words. I was normal in middle school. Okay, here's a fun fact. Don't listen to this. I met my partner, to whom I am currently married, in middle school, in math club, okay? That's how normal I am, right? Okay. Don't put that one in the course of vowels. Okay, so actually that would be a good one to put in there. Okay, right. So, it turns out, in fact, all you need to meet the love of your life, a working vocabulary of 10,000 words, right? Easy, right? Now, oftentimes, you're going to have to improve a little bit after that. So, like, you can start the courtship phase, right? But to actually seal the deal, you're going to need to convince both of your parents to sign off on this thing, right? And since you're middle schoolers, that might take like 15 years, right? So you might need to learn another 90,000 words and get up to 100,000 words. And I guess I've heard the rule of thumb, and so all of this stuff's approximate, right? When someone starts having a working vocabulary of 100,000 words, they're perceived as intelligent. Why do I say perceived? Well, the odds, even if you know 100,000 words, that someone else knows the same 100,000 words are pretty slim. So you're just going to sound intelligent, right? No one will actually be able to assess if you're intelligent or not, unless they're in your field. Anyways, that is to say, English words has 127,145 words, which means that if I changed ChatGPT on this dictionary, it would seem intelligent, and it would be difficult for people to determine if it was intelligent. And isn't that just like an interesting concept to play around with? But if I gave that many words to a middle schooler, they could probably convince their parents to let them marry someone. And that's the plot of Romeo and Juliet, which is also in the training data for ChatGPT, despite them not having the rights to it. Let's take a look at some English words, huh? There they are. So this is where the English words live on the internet. I realized 4 minutes before class I should have put the English words in a JSON file and made you all read it with requests. Not to worry, I have a plan. Ooh, this is a lot of text. Hold on, how smart am I? Are we smart? We might be. Should we go terminal style? We're just gonna go a little bit terminal style on this, okay? I'm gonna grab this URL. I did a copy paste angle there, right? I'm popping open the terminal. I already had the terminal open. You should all know that when I'm at home, I usually mostly have terminal windows open. Let's go into the temp folder. Okay. Oh, there's a midterm in there. Hi, Rachel. Okay. Everyone pretend you didn't see that. Don't look at each other's code. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and I'm going to use. Can I get this with requests? Python import requests. how does requests work? Do I have the requests.html? Okay. All right, so how do we use requests? We installed it. You did that already. Okay, we're going to requests get. Okay. R equals requests.get. Okay, R dot text. There it is. There it is. You see it? You see the text? Okay. And we can print r dot text, and then it will have the nice new lines. Okay, right? I think we're doing okay so far. Somehow, I have to get this down to only containing, wow, that's a lot of text, only containing the JSON parts, right? Because I want to use r.json or json.load or something. I bet we're clever enough to do this. Why don't I split this into lines and then chop some lines off the beginning and the end? Let's see, so I previously got r.text, okay. So lines is going to equal r.text.split, and what am I going to split on? I'm going to split on the new line character. There's lines, there's a bunch of them, okay. We can also say for line and lines, print line, okay. Not too bad. Now we're getting the lines individually, right? What are the first 10 lines? I'm putting this on one line so it's easier to type. Okay, that was too many. Lines 10. That's not what I expected to happen. I want the first 10 lines. There we go. Okay. Print line for line in lines 10. Is this going to work? Have to put it in parens. Okay, this is starting to look correct. So I'm able to start looking at the beginning of the file, right? Maybe I want to take 20 of them. But by the way, all those nones at the end, that's from this being a list comprehension. Just ignore that if you're not into list comprehensions yet. Okay, let's look at 30. Let's look at 40. Okay, so somewhere around line 40, we see the text English words. Now, we can't put English words in our JSON file, but if we replace English words with just that bracket, then we can have a JSON list or array. They're called arrays in JSON, I think, right? So all I need to do is figure out what that line is and replace it with a bracket and get rid of all of the stuff before it, which probably someone who's pretty clever can do. Okay. So we look at lines 30. That's going to equal this thing. And then we're going to look at lines -10 to the end. And we need to get rid of some of those. Print line for, wow, I can't spell for. Okay. Okay. I did something. Okay, I printed something for line and lines. It looks like the last 3 lines are cringe. Okay. So, I think I need lines 30, lines 31, okay, and then up to lines -3. No, lines -4, -5. Okay. So I need to go from line 30 to line -5. So I'm going to say lines equals line 30 through to -5. I sure hope this is correct, because it's going to be really annoying to start again. Okay. That looks a little bit like JSON. So let's look at the JSON lecture. Okay, I need to do JSON.loads. Okay, but I'm going to have to combine these lines back together again. So somehow I need to take all of these lines, which are separated, and make them one thing. So I need to add them all back together. Does that make sense? Are you all tracking this? This isn't that bad, right? It's terminal style, right? We're doing things in the terminal. Why are we doing them in the terminal? Because it's awesome, right? You can tell it's awesome? Okay, as long as you can tell it's awesome, that's the important thing. Okay, so here's lines, and what I need to do is I need to turn lines back into a single string, which I'm going to call S. And then I'm going to say, for line in lines, S plus equal line. Oh, that look fine? Ooh, we're missing something. Let's look at the first 10 and make sure we're doing okay. Okay, so there's a bracket there. There's not a bracket on the last one. I clipped something off. But that's okay. I think. Because I think I can just put a bracket there. Okay, it ends with a bracket. Okay. We're all doing well? We're all happy? This is totally going to be valid JSON, and it's definitely going to work when I do this. And I checked before class, so I know it'll work. All right. J equals JSON. Wait, no, I have to import JSON. J equals JSON.loads S. No, oh, I forgot the equals. Wait, that worked? I told you it'd work. Crazy. Okay. Oh my gosh, the 10th word is aardvark. Okay, so I think we can all agree that was way easier than just downloading the file. I feel like we're not agreeing with that, but that's okay. Also, I did all of that in the terminal, so I can't just tell you what I did. But one thing I hope you saw from that, and the reason I did this in the terminal, which now is obvious, is I didn't know which lines to clip at. So I got in the terminal and I looked at lines and I edited that one line. Now, I think what I did in aggregate, and we're about to find out. I have a lot of things open in here. What's the verdict on VS Code? Are you all appreciators or haters? Waffling? Yeah, all over the place. Okay. Let's really, that's how much. Okay. Let's do that again. I'm going to import requests, and I'm going to import JSON. I'm going to wow, I did this for a long time. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. And I'm actually going to save this URL so you can do different URLs, but it's going to be pretty URL specific. Okay. URL. Okay. Whoa, I just saved that. That's not what I wanted to save that as. Example.py. Okay. All right. So when I run this, it's definitely going to work. As I said, it was definitely going to work because we put it in quotes. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to say lines equals r.split on the new line character. Do you all know about split? Have you seen that before? It was one of the string methods covered in the string lecture. I don't think we used it in this class. It was very important last year on Adventure. This year we're using JSON, so it's less important. Why am I using it now? Because I don't have JSON. So I'm trying to solve the problem. Okay. Lines 30 equals this thing. We figured this out in terminal. And then we're going to say lines equals line 32, now we're going to do -4. And I'm just going to print for line and lines. I'm going to print the lines real quick. Oh, okay. Okay, what did I do wrong? It's r.text.split. Line is not defined. That seems fine. Okay. Okay, there they are. That looks pretty good. That's like the end looks good, right? And then we'll just check the beginning real quick. Looking good, I think. Looking pretty good. Maybe not great. All right. Then we're going to say J equals, I guess we can call it words now. Words is going to equal, oh no, we have to put all the lines back together. S is going to equal nothing, and then we're going to say for line and lines, S plus equal line. Okay, and that seems fine. I'm going to get rid of the printing. The Pythonic way to do this is join. You can do that if you want. I think that will probably work. Ah, it's capital S. That's capital S. No. What do we think about capitalism, folks? Huge L. L? Which one's L's? It's a huge something. Okay. All right, so then we're going to, words is going to equal json.loads_s. Then we're going to look at words 10. Wait, are we? We got to print it. I wasn't going print style. I was doing terminal style in VS Code. You have to do VS Code style in VS Code. You can't do terminal style in VS Code. That's against the law. I hate to say it, but I think we're kind of geniuses. Okay? People think it's easy being a genius, but we put a lot of hard work into it. Okay. So if your section leaders ask if you ever used the request library, what are you going to say? Did you all get, was the section okay? All right, okay. Cool. All right, back to class. So, we can check to see if a word is an English word by saying, is my word English? Okay, well, yeah, sure. Let's take this. And I'm going to take it exactly as is because it matters. Okay, so we have this function, is my word English? We're going to call it English words. And we can check to see if words are English by looping over English words. Let's take two examples. We're going to say word is going to be, what's something that is an English word? Sorry, you're saying things and I'm not parsing them.
I said villain. I saw that.
Villain?
Yeah, villain.
Villa?
Villain.
N?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
How's it spelled?
A-I-N.
A-I-N? I guess we can find out. Print word. This is way too long. We're hitting this with the is-ang. That's all we're doing. Okay. Is-ang word. And then we have claimed that misspelled villian is not a word. I don't know if that's true or not. So you can use this to check your spelling. There's faster ways, but in fairness to us, we are downloading the entire English language dictionary every time we run this code. Which suggests we should save English words as a JSON file and then read it directly every time. Right, okay. I'm glad we're all agreeing here. Okay, so JSON.dump. This is how to get it. Did we save anything in JSON last time? Wait, oh, this is getting close. Yes, JSON.dumps. Okay, JSON.dumps. Okay. Here, we've got it over here in the terminal, so we can go just a little bit terminal style, okay? JSON.dumps J. And I think that just comes out as JSON. And I think if I want to dump it to a file, I say file name, which is going to be ing.json. And I probably have to put that in quotes. No! Write to JSON file, Python. And what do we do? What do we do when we see the AI overview? We blow right past it, right? Oh, I have to open the file. Okay, that's where I have a plan. So the F is going to be, we're going to open ing.json, and we're going to open it in write style, huge, and then we're going to dump to the write style file, and then we're going to figure out where that is. I'm going to move requests. Okay. Now we will use ing.json. Okay, so this is going to be example2.py. Okay, we're going to import JSON, and then we are going to, there's ing.json, I got it previously. Actually, let's change this over here and make sure it works. Okay, so F is going to be equal open ing.json write mode, and then we're going to dump English words to F. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Okay, that seems to work. What am I going to do? I'm going to delete ing.json, and I'm going to make sure this works. Move to trash. Delete. Okay. Okay, and it showed up again, and I can look at it. Here it is. Beautiful, gorgeous, flawless. Okay. So now we are going to load that. So we're going to do json.loads. We're going to check the answer key. Wait, really? Where is it? Oh, there it is. JSON.loads open file name read. Okay. So file name is going to be, we called it ing.json. This is what I do all day, by the way. I don't actually do the projects. I do this stuff. Okay. So we're going to JSON loads. That's not what I meant to do. Oh no. What happens if I hit the BRAC key? This is not helping at all. There we go. Open file name. Okay. Open file name. Okay. If I open the file name, what do I get? I get the Python description of a file. I cannot read text from the Python description of a file, so what do? I read the text from the Python description of the file. I get all the text from the file. When I get all of the text from the file, then what do? I say, Dear JSON, my beloved JSON, my best friend. We go way back, right? Would you please turn yourself from being a string into being a collection of either Python dictionaries or Python lists? And JSON says, well, of course, Golly, my good old friend. And then it returns to me a list, right? I heard you not believing me. So I'm going to print the type of English words. And if this thing is a list, you all owe me a begrudging acknowledgement of my correctness. And if it's a string, then we're going to do it again, and then we're going to say first try. Okay? It's a list. Ah, I have earned your begrudging admiration. See? Yeah. They think anyone can do this stuff, and in fact, they can. Okay. So, this is one way to live your life. Okay, so, fun fact. This is a terrible way to see if words are in words. Why is that? It checks every single word individually. Here's another way to do this. I'm going to start giving these numbers. This is ang 0. We can do check is ang 1, my word. You can also just return word in English words. And that looks better. Or maybe it does. I don't know if you think that looks better. I think it looks better. See if this is always correct. And so this works, but it checks every single word to see if that word is villain. And that perhaps should seem inefficient to us. Perhaps there is some other way. And the some other way might be teased by looking at ing.json and noticing that those words appear conspicuously alphabetical in order, right? And now, when I was looking up the word of in the dictionary, because I didn't know how to spell it in second grade, right? I did not check every single word in the dictionary to see if it was of. I navigated to the words that started with O. So, we can do that same thing here. So, how are we going to do this? We're going to go back to the slides. I'm introducing a term right here and now on this slide. This is technically correct in that it has the technique to get the correct answer. So that's what I mean with technically correct. It is unambiguously correct. The solution is correct. It is a special type of wrong, which is algorithmically incorrect. This is the incorrect way to solve the problem, even though the answer is correct. And the reason it is the incorrect way to solve the problem is a result of a lengthy anecdote I've prepared just for this class. This is one of my favorite anecdotes all term. Okay, so let's imagine that I want to make a peanut butter sandwich, right? Oh yes, I am engaging in the act of hunger, right? Peanut butter sandwiches, well balanced. If you're vegan, it hits all of the 21 essential amino acids in roughly the distribution you want. I use a sort of whole grain bread, which means I have a relatively even power curve across simple and complex carbohydrates, and there's trace amounts of protein and lipids or fats in the peanut butter. So I eat one of these peanut butter sandwiches and I feel like a person for like 8 to 12 hours. It's incredible, right? Then I go back to being a gremlin. Okay, and so we can always assume that I want a peanut butter sandwich. In fact, this morning for breakfast I had a bagel and a bag of chips, and so I'm going to be a holy terror in like 2 hours, right? So here's how I make my peanut butter sandwiches, and before I begin, I would like to specify that this is a joke, okay? We're going ha-ha silly mode style, okay, right? Silly style. Okay, so every time I want a peanut butter sandwich, I pop into my Ford F-150 Super Duty Triton V8 that is powered by biodiesel that I make from cooking oil from the local Burger King. And I drive to the nearest Winco Foods, which is located in either Tigard or Tigard, depending on where you're from, right? And then I purchase at Winco Foods in cash, because they don't accept credit card, exactly one peanut. Sometimes they have halves of peanuts, and then I only get the half, right? I place that peanut gingerly in the bed of my truck so that everyone knows that I'm using it for its intended purpose of hauling freight. And I drive. And do I drive home? No. I drive to Lowe's Home Improvement, and I drive to Lowe's Home Improvement because Reverend Al Sharpton from the NAACP told me to go to Lowe's instead of Home Depot, right? Am I going to look into that? Absolutely not. Have no idea why I want to go to Lowe's instead of Home Depot, right? So I go to Lowe's Home Improvement, or the equivalent, which in my case is I have a neighborhood tool library. So I go to the tool library, right? And what do? I buy a grinder. I usually also buy a gasoline generator, and then I also have to buy gasoline because I'm powering my truck with biodiesel, right? One time I tried to buy a nuclear reactor. Folks, don't do that. It's illegal. Okay. So I get my gasoline generator. I drive home. I rev up the generator. I take my grinder. I plug my grinder into the generator. Usually that works. Sometimes the plugs are not compatible and I have to go back to Lowe's. And then I grind my either 1 or 1/2 peanut, and I get, 12 to 15 calories of peanut butter. And so I put that in cold storage. Some of you may have something in your home called a refrigerator. I use one of those, but I have to leave the generator at home to run the refrigerator while I'm gone, right? So it's a complex logistics problem. Then, having completed the task of grinding one peanut, I drive back to Lowe's Home Improvement and return the grinder because I'm not planning on using it again because I don't currently have any peanuts. And then I start the cycle again at the beginning, driving to Winco Foods. Some of you may have realized this is inefficient, right? But I didn't know that when I started doing it because I hadn't taken CS 151 yet, right? So I was having to live like this for years. Now, because of this class and because I'm familiar with things like the request library, I now have a much, much better solution. This is strictly better. It's better in every way. I order 20 metric tons of peanuts on Amazon. This is very close to something that actually happened. I tried to buy, they canceled my order and I don't know why. I tried to buy bulk maltodextrin on Amazon, which is a corn-derived fructose source, which your body can metabolize concurrently with glucose, so you can take in up to 150 grams of carbs per hour. This is a true story. I read some exercise science on this, right? So I tried to buy some bulk maltodextrin on Amazon. They canceled my order, and I don't know why. So I reordered it, and I will report back to you later. I bought a tasteful amount.
Okay, not 20 metric tons.
Not 20 metric tons, but probably an amount that would seem suspicious to a normal person, right?
Are there like civil disobedient things you could get up to with a lot of maltodextrin?
Kind of
they would suspect you of?
The sketchiest thing you can do with maltodextrin is you can ferment it and make alcohol that's unregulated.
Oh.
Yeah, but I think you're allowed to make beer at home now in the United States. I didn't check. Yeah. If you're asking if I was also buying mining explosives, the answer is no. Don't ask. I wouldn't tell you if I was, and I don't get that on Amazon.
No, I don't
Okay.
know anything about explosives. That's not my
That's good.
wheelhouse.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all heard that I don't know anything about explosives? Okay. You might want to write that one down. Someone might ask you.
Of course you have.
Okay. Yeah. We think it's really interesting how little Calvin knows about
Calvin
explosives.
doesn't
That's,
know
yeah.
about explosives.
And I don't know about cybercrime. Okay. So I get my 20 metric tons of peanuts, and I also order 40 grinders, right? How long do you think it takes to grind 20 metric tons of peanuts with one grinder? Right? See, the 40 makes sense, right? And you can tell this is not true because obviously I buy powers of 2 numbers of grinders, right? So I actually get 64. Okay, I divide the peanuts, and how do I do that? I take the peanuts, and I split them into halves. And then I take the halves, and I split them into halves. And I do this repeatedly until I have 64 same-size piles of peanuts. And then I feed them all into the grinders simultaneously. This is, by the way, algorithmically correct because it wastes less driving. And in fact, it would still be correct if I only had 40 peanuts, right? But the actual problem I'm solving here is I'm dividing things into halves and then working on both of the halves simultaneously. So this is the one peanut at a time approach. And you can tell it's one peanut at a time because every time I have one peanut, I drive all the way to the store, all the way through English Words, and I come all the way back, and I process my peanuts one peanut at a time. And so I need a way to do this that is more efficient than doing everything one at a time. And my friends, it's time to go a little bit terminal style. Okay, so some of you have probably been familiar with some of my previous work, the alphabet. So I'm going to make a little variable called ABCs, right? Now, it is true, I could JSON request the Enigma constants file. And that, so like I could do that. I'm not going to do that because it's fun to practice typing the ABCs. Well, I might change this one later, right? Really? Oh, I'm not in Python. Folks, what am I doing? Okay, and in response to popular demand, we're going to capitalize this. Is that true? Okay. All right. And I'm gonna perform a demonstration now. Okay. What am I going to demonstrate? I'm going to demonstrate that I can tell immediately if I should look in the first half or the second half of the library, or the JSON file, or whatever. I'm going to keep calling it a dictionary, even though it is very explicitly a list. And I can do this very easily, because I can compute the length of ABCs, and it is 25, right? Because there are 25 letters in the English alphabet if you start counting from 0, right? And I can, using an advanced technique known as division, I can divide that in half. And using an actually unironically advanced technique known as integer division, I can divide that in half and get something that can be the location of a letter in the alphabet. And then I can take that length, and I can see what letter's there. And it's going to be N. Oh, it's M. I'm off by 1. And now all I have to do, in order to only have to check half the alphabet at a time, or in order to grind half of my peanuts at a time, I can take a word, any word, and I can see if it is in the first or second half of the alphabet. Does anyone have any favorite words that we haven't used yet today? Okay, I'll go first. Glissando. Great word, right? We're probably all familiar with those. Yeah, huge W, glissandos. And in order to determine if that is in the first half or the second half of the alphabet, which could be quite emotionally exhausting, right? There's a large number of letters in that word, and also I don't know the ABCs, right? And the reason I don't know the ABCs is because I'm a computer, right? So all you got to do is you take that, and you see if it's more or less than M, right? And maybe there's things that are more than M, right? Anyone have any favorite words that begin with letters in the second half of the alphabet?
Tremolo.
Tremolo? What's yours?
Pliny.
Pliny?
Yeah.
We're going to do both.
Just go on ABCs.
Are there 2 L's in tremolo? Okay. So, we've done it. We now know how to make peanut butter. Or at least we, in theory, know how to make peanut butter. But we're not all the way there yet. So I used the examples of Vesuvius and Glissando here because clearly I was Italy when I was making these slides. And so we can do this also with words as well. And I'm going to motivate this by taking a list of the 7 most commonly used words in the English language: abraxas, canopy, palladio, snafu, turbidity, unceasingly, and zymox. I think I have actually used unceasingly and canopy in real life. I did not know zymox was a word.
Ever used snafu?
No, I'm not 400 years old.
Well, neither am I, but sometimes I find myself in a snafu.
No, I only ever find myself in clown fiestas, which are closely related, right? Let's see if I can successfully copy this. There we go. We got some words. Folks, we got some words. Okay. And how can we see the middle word? So we can take words, and we can look at the length of words, and we can double divide, and we can see that our middle word is snafu. So we have, in fact, after all of that, found ourselves in a snafu. And then, if I want to see if a word is in here, I can just check to see if it's more or less than snafu, right? And so I can make the same comparisons as I did previously. I'm not going to type this because typing words is not really one of my core competencies as a human. So how can I get this to work algorithmically? Well, I'm just going to write this out. And I can just perform a test to see if something is in the first half of the words, okay? And I can also shorten that considerably into one line. So I am now going to write this function. Okay. Def in first half. Am I allowed to put a 1 in there? Ooh, that's sketchy. I wouldn't have let myself do that. And I'm going to take the set of the words as well. What am I doing? What did I type? Okay. So I'm going to take my word and I'm going to take a word list. I am going to look in the middle, and I'm going to see if my word is more or less. So my return my word. We say less than because 1 is less than 5, and so it is in the first half of the numbers less than 10. Right? So I want my word to be less than whatever is in the middle if it's in the first half. I'm going to take word list. I'm going to find the halfway mark of word list, and then I'm going to divide by 2, and this will tell me if something is in the first half of the words. I think it's kind of non-trivial to determine what is in the middle of the words in the English language, so I'm also going to check one thing. I'm going to print out, what is this thing called? English words, len, English words. I'm going to figure out what's in the middle of the alphabet as well. Okay, so let's just run this quickly. Of course, we all know the famous word lighter.
Yeah.
We've probably all used this word just today even, right? For example, this is the color that the traffic light I went through was when it was kind of in between yellow and red. It was light red, right? Okay, so that's how you use that in a sentence. Okay, so easy peasy. Let's find a word that is before lightered. And we'll go ahead and print, let's find a word. I'm going to just do abacus because that's definitely in the first part of the alphabet. We're going to print the word, and we're going to print in first half of word, and then we'll do one in the last half of the alphabet, which will be, I don't know, something that starts with W, maybe. Any W words?
Werewolf.
Werewolf. Great choice. And I have to see if that's in here, because I'm dying to know it now. It is. It's in there. Okay. And then we will do the same thing. I'm missing an argument word list. That makes sense. English words. Okay. Abacus is in the first half of the alphabet. Werewolf is not in the first half of the alphabet. Easy. But it's also still really slow to look through an entire half of the alphabet, or an entire half of the word list. So what we should actually do is we should keep cutting it in half. And this is what binary search is. We take a big thing, we cut it in half, we cut it in half, and we keep cutting it in half until we get one thing left. And so let's write the function that does that, and I have it up here on the slides. Basically, I'm going to say, if word list is in the first half, or if the word is in the first half of the word list, I'm going to keep only the first half, and then I'm going to check again. Otherwise, I'm going to keep only the second half. So, let's write this out. Is ang 2. And we're going to take a word. Now, I cheated a little bit up here, right? In first half, I said word and word list, and then I only used it with English words, but I'm not going to keep doing that. I'm actually going to take different regions of the words. And so I'm going to begin with word list is equal to English words, but I'm going to change the word list over time. Okay? So, there we have it. Ooh, did that work? Okay. Then I'm going to say, what is the, we'll call it the list length, I guess. And that is going to equal len of word list. Okay? And really I want half length. Oh, I spelled length wrong. Do I need to do that? I don't know if I need to do that. Okay, we're going to say, if in first half, nope, I call it once half, word list. What am I going to do? Well, if that's true, I'm going to update my word list to be the first half of the word list, which is half length. Okay, that makes sense. And if it's not in the first half, then I'm going to take my word length to be the other thing. Okay? So I'm going to start at half length, and then I'm going to go to the end. Okay. And that code works. We're not running it. We're not testing it yet. We're not doing anything with it. It's just code that works for now. And so what am I going to do with this? Well, no matter what, this will take any list of words and determine if my word is in the first or second half of the split. So all I have to do now is I have to do this repeatedly. So I'm going to throw this in one of our favorite loops. I'm going to put the half length in there too. I'm going to put this in the old while loop because I want to keep cutting my words in half while I have too many words. So what I'm going to do, I need to do half length up here then actually. Well, half length, and you don't have to do this all the way down to nothing, so I'm just going to say, well, half length greater than 5. I'm going to do all of this work. No, I didn't mean to indent that. And then, let's see.
Is there a reason why there are parentheses around the thing in the while loop?
No, that's because I'm used to another language, actually. Good question. I don't know if it matters. Will that work? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to loop here, and eventually I'm going to get down to a short list of words. And let's just go ahead and look at that word list. And we will do this for print. Well, we'll just do is eng3. It's eng2 of, we'll do werewolf again. Okay, so what's happening here? I have a very small, relatively small number of words compared to the number of words I started with. And I can make this relatively small number of words much smaller. And I can get down to, for example, just these two, right? And then I can simply return my word in word list. And now it's fast. No, oh, my word's not defined. Oh, it's just word. And so now we can see if these things still work, which I hope they do. And now we have both an algorithmically and a technically correct solution. Here's some example code. This is called divide and conquer, and it is a very powerful technique for solving algorithmic problems. I taught a slightly more advanced technique of this at the 200 level. We used it to solve the problem of comparing the differences between files, which can change. And so this is commonly used in computer science. It's one of the most important algorithms in Git. So the thing that runs GitHub does this all the time. And it's just kind of a cool, neat way to think about doing things in the world. If you want to use this in your own life, which you're under no obligation to do, whenever I have a list of tasks to do, I always do half of them before I do all of them. And then I do half of those before I do all of them, right? So you can even just use this as a mind game technique to program yourself. There will be more on this on Monday. Today, we learned to do things fast. It's not adventure relevant, but it is relevant to the problem of making peanut butter sandwiches, which is near and dear to my heart. And here are the final announcements. You should be thinking about navigating between scenes and how to start making your API calls. I showed you some requests today. That wasn't planned. I wanted to show you that so you can fiddle around with it. If you encounter an advising problem, email me immediately. And I have to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to let you out 3 minutes early. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. This was a great experience.
Thank you. I will be back if you have questions. Just in case.
I was wondering.
I have to go on Monday because there's an inside. So you're on the computer.
Just for